Right, so we're here for episode 25 of the Grappling with Physio podcast, and we're joined by Coventry's very own Joe Sherriff, all the way from Marbella in Spain. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How you doing, Paul?
Not too bad, not too bad. So there is a slight bit of a delay, I think, in the in the feedback. So we'll do our best just to work with it and see how things go. So, Joe, thanks for coming on. It's been a real pleasure, mate, to get you on. It's been something I've been meaning to do. We spoke about it a long time ago. I've had it on the cards for ages, and life gets in the way, and you just get a little bit busy, doing other things. And I suppose COVID hasn't helped either, and it kind of slows you down, and work gets a little bit busy. And I know you've been busy with a few ventures. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Paul. It's been a testing time for everyone. I think since the pandemic started, it's been like I say, it's been a test for us all, and I think we've all had our own experiences. But it's been a very difficult time, because a lot's happened in my own life with the pandemic, and I'm sure, like I say, everyone's in the same boat. So I'm not getting, asking to get the violins out or anything, but like before the pandemic, obviously I've been over here in Spain for like a year, and I was setting up a business, the Champs Camp, and PT business was going good. I was I was still active with the boxing, and then COVID happened. So like things started, to shape up differently. I had to kind of adapt, and the boxing has been put on a halt because obviously there's not been many shows over here, and I think boxing really only started towards the back end of last year. MTK Marbella shut down, one of the gyms I was working with the Champs Camp, and just a few things really just that I was relying on had to kind of file through, and I've had to, like I say, adapt. So it's been a testing time, but I've been I've come off social media deliberately to kind of focus on another venture that I'm working towards, and so far it's going well. But again, I don't want to jinx myself and put it all on social media in the event that if something happens or we going to another lockdown or whatnot. So it's a bit of a risk, but I'm kind of like all in now. I'm thinking, well, something's got to work. So that's where we're at the minute.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds pretty positive. If we just backtrack a little bit for those that don't know, so Coventry boxer, born and bred. The record is 13-1.
14-1.
14. Sorry, 14-1, mate. My apologies.
No worries.
I don't want to be 15-1. No, we haven't had a sparring in quite a few years since I was at the uni on Fridays up at the Red Corner. So a lot's changed since then. What kind of, if we go back, so you started off your career in Red Corner and the Glenn Smith.
Yeah, so I started at Red Corner. How it worked out, how I started in boxing was I was always into football when I was younger, and went into the Royal Marines when I was 17 down in Livingston, but I was only there for like 3 months, and I got a snapped cruciate ligament. So I was kind of out of action for a little bit, and Glenn was in the Royal Air Forces. So when I was training for the Royal Marines, I went to a gym called the Future Fitness, which you've probably heard about in Coventry. So whilst I was training there, I seen a guy called Glenn, and Glenn was always, talkative and always chatting to me and giving me advice about how to get into the military. So I knew he was teaching boxing and stuff, but at the time I was quite young and I didn't have that much.
We got you back. I can see you. I just can't hear you. Oh, you're on mute.
Now?
Got you now. Yeah. I got you back.
Sorry, mate.
It's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I should have, mate. It's
all right, mate. So what happened? So you started training at Future, and that's where you met Glenn.
It's a little bit. Yeah, so I met Glenn Smith at Future Fitness when I was training for the Royal Marines, and he was, like I say, he was very talkative, really friendly, and he you know, really, because he'd been in the military before, he was kind of advising me on how to train for it, that kind of thing. And I knew he had like a room where he was teaching boxing and stuff. And I was, you know, I was a big fan of Mike Tyson and stuff, but I never really dabbled too much on boxing. I was kind of really into my football. So, you know, with Glenn in mind, when I went to the Royal Marines, I come out, I couldn't play football no more because my injury and stuff. But then I heard Glenn at the gym, you know, just opened a boxing gym. So when I recovered from my injuries, I sort of went there, and then I started training with a guy called Russell at first, just learning the basics of boxing. But then Glenn took over, and then I was at college doing my PT courses and a BTEC diploma, and then just me and Glenn just clicked, just took to it, and then had my first amateur fight at the age of 20 through the Capital Gym. I had 3 fights for the Capital. And then I moved to the Red Corner under Dennis Young. Had a few fights for them, and then what happened with Dennis? Oh yeah, Dennis. I got called up for an England trial because Dennis had his own grievances with the England squad. He never told me, but I found out through someone else. So it was I ended up leaving him. Went to Dinesh at the Triumph. Got to the national final, had a good run with the Triumph, got to the national final in 2010. And then from there, I think I got injured in the quarterfinals, got to the final, had a bit of time out, then I went traveling. And then plan was to turn pro at 24. And then obviously I had a bit of an altercation whilst I was in Las Vegas, and then had a bit of had time out from that. So the plan it didn't go to plan, unfortunately.
Right. Okay, so I didn't know that about Dennis, that he did that to you. I always had good experiences because he was at Cov Boys as well. So I think at the time when I was because I'd not long, well, like yourself. When I was in the military and I'd got out, I did a bit of traveling and then went to uni a lot later, and that was when because I'd boxed from a regiment, and then when I started boxing for Cov Uni, we were doing trips over to Cov Boys for a bit of sparring and a bit of training. And Dennis would say, "Come up to Red Corner," which is where I first met you, Jacob, Warren, and and Troy. And Fridays would be like the open sparring day and stuff. And it was always interesting, but I didn't know that's not really fair in a young boxer. I think it's very it's quite immature, and I wouldn't expect that from a coach.
No, definitely not. Listen, Dennis is a great coach, so I'm not gonna. I wouldn't badmouth him, but just from that experience, I didn't trust him in that sense, because at the end of the day, as an amateur, your dream is to box for GB and to go to the Olympics. A lot of amateurs are anyway. That's their dream. So to know that he had grievances with him, and to kind of not tell me that I had a call up for England, and then and me miss out on the opportunity, I kind of spat my dummy out and said, look, that's it, just left him, and then I went to Dinesh. But to be fair, everything happens for a reason, and I've got on really well with Dinesh. I mean, Dinesh was one of my favourite coaches that I've ever worked with, just because he brought the best out in me, and he really, really, really pushed me. Spent a lot of time with me.
Yeah, I mean, well, when I was in Birmingham training at Aston, we'd already heard of Triumph. Triumph was a very well-known club at amateur level throughout the country, I think. And whenever Dinesh used to bring boxers over, you were cautious about these open spars with them.
Yeah, no, for sure, because we did have a good reputation at the Triumph, and I think, and rightly so, because he produced a lot of national champions. And the Triumph, if you were known from the Triumph, you're known to be a very, very fit skilled, boxer. And I remember when we used to have, like I say, open spars at the gym, people used to come, and it was like a fight basically, because I think a lot of people not feared the triumph, but we had that reputation, so people knew to be on their A game when they used to spar us, So, but I had great times there.
Who did you turn pro with? Who did you sign with when you did go pro, Joe?
I signed with Les Allen, Paul, and to be honest, Les was brilliant. I mean, I could talk about my professional journey. It's been a mad one. It's been up and down, and the stories. I mean, the pro games it's a business. It's a funny business. But I started off with Les Allen, who at the time was promoting a lot of local lads from like sort of Bedworth, Coventry, and eating all around that way. And he was brilliant. I got on really well with Les. I had 5 fights under him, and then there was a bit of politics within the gym where we had someone, a guy called Dean. He wanted to basically, he was our cut man. He wanted to manage the fighters, keep everything in house. But I believe, a manager of managers, a trainer's a trainer, a cutman's a cutman, a promoter's a promoter. Listen, anyone that's wanting to turn pro, keep it simple. Because otherwise, it's in my career, especially the fallouts with managers or, things not going, it just stalls your career. So I started off with Les, and you had, like I say, five fights with, 6 fights under Les. And then, and I left. So
how would you imagine you were talking to someone, let's say in a Spanish bar, sharing a couple of cervezas, and somebody went, explain the pro game to me. How would you break it down to them now? Having been a bit of well, you are now a veteran of the pro game. What would you kind of like let them know?
I would say to them, treat it like an expensive hobby, in a sense that it's your dream. It's no one else's dream. So you've got to sell tickets. You've got to fund pretty much, you've got to get sponsors, or you've got to fund it yourself. Sometimes you're going to have to fight for nothing. But you've got to understand that, like I say, I'm looking at starting a venture soon in a business. I mean, I've done business before, but, you've got to give sometimes to get a lot back. So what I mean by that is, if you're starting out professional, you've got to understand that you might fight for free the first couple of times, and then after, once you build yourself up, that's when you get good sponsorship, and you might get a few TV fights, or you might get a good promoter coming for you. So I would treat it like a business and a very expensive hobby, because it's a very, very hard game, very hard. And if I had my way again, if I did it all over again, I would have tried to stay amateur longer and gone to the Olympics or done something like that, because starting out, trying to sell tickets, trying to slug it, it's just a really, really hard road, really, really hard road.
I think there's such a tough emphasis on boxers to be salesmen, to be fighters, and to be, promoters. They've got to self-promote themselves and the actual card and the fight that they're on. They've got to sell tickets and build up a fan base, which takes an immense amount of energy. And you've got to commit to a ridiculous training regime and the weight cut, as well as, getting hit in the face, basically, which, let's be honest, as that goes on throughout your career starts to take its toll.
Definitely, Paul. The thing is, a lot of kids these days have this misconception that you turn pro and you earn money. You don't. Forget it. It's you've got to, you like to say all them things. You've got to be a salesman. You've got to be able to promote yourself. You've got to be able to fight. You've got to be able to train. All these things. It's as well as trying to earn money. So it's like you put yourself in a position where you've got to do all these things. And I think a lot of people, they start off thinking, they do it for a couple of fights and they think, I've had enough. And then you've got you've got cancellations, you've got, cancellation shows, your opponent might pull out, they might give you another opponent that you've prepared for someone, and then they just change it last minute. So a lot of things that happen. Someone, you're selling the table to someone, or you've sold a few tickets, people let you down, so you've still got to cover the money. But all these things, and I don't want to put people off because I've had some great memories. But I think for anyone watching, I think it's a very, very tough game. And like I say, if you were to treat it like a business, an expensive hobby, you'll enjoy it. You'll be ahead of the game, and you'll enjoy it more.
Well, hopefully they'll listen to this and they'll learn something from it, and it'll give them a bit of a head start. I think what you said about potentially staying as an amateur really, really is good advice, especially for as long as possible, especially watching the Olympics now, because I mean, having been up to Sheffield, the English Institute of Sport, you see what a facility that they've got up there. And because it's an Olympic sport and it's a recognized Olympic sport, you know, it's got everything backing them. So they've got the team, they call the team that support them the team behind the team. So they've got strength, you know, strength and conditioning coaches trained to the, you know, to masters or PhD level. They've got nutritionists, they've got psychotherapists or talking therapies. So if you are stressed and camping, stressed out, you can go speak to a professional about it. They've got physios. They've got one of the best, a guy called Ian Gatt, and I did his course on hand injuries in boxing and fighting, and he's one of the best guys, you know, and he's in this position. You know, all these people looking after him, and so all they have to do is get to wherever they've got to go and produce the goods and fight and win. And if they're not, they help other people develop in that team. And there is very much a development a team and a structure, which is really interesting, especially for boxing, which, let's face it, is a very individual sport, isn't it? It's only you and somebody else in the ring that's fighting at the end of the day. But the support network is like a pyramid. So you're at the front and everyone else is helping you get, you know, to the final hurdle or to the end line.
For sure, Paul, and it's when I'm just listening to everything you're saying there, like imagine this, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'd stay amateur, because you're going to put yourself in a better position when you turn pro to have that support network, a team. Imagine that, a team of, like, you don't even get that as a pro. You have to pay for that yourself. So imagine you've got, you know, a mind coach, you know, or a sports psychologist. You've got a strength conditioning coach, you've got a physiotherapy therapist, massage, you've got all the best, like, training coaches. So your boxing ability is going to get better anyway. You're going to be traveling around the world. You're going to be, you know, really developing your boxing. I think amateur boxing is 50-50 fights every time. So you've got to be mentally prepared all the time. So, and you're getting developed on that journey. So, you know, to have that would be, I'd advise anyone amateur to try and push yourself, you know, to stay amateur and see how far you can get and try and get into the GB squads or something like that. Because, you know, when you turn pro, you've got to have a very, very good team. Unfortunately enough, I had a good team throughout my professional journey. But, you know, like, it's a very hard sport, and unless you've got a lot of time and the money to invest in yourself, you know, you've got someone like, let's say, the Olympians that turn pro, the BOXERs, the people, they get a good promotion, they get, you know, very well paid, they get the best sponsorships, they get the best care, the best this, the best that. So you're dealing with that. Do you know what I mean? To try and get to the top, and then you get in a phone call to say, listen, you've got to fight this person on 4 weeks' notice to get your little break. You know, that's what you're dealing with. So it's like I say, I don't want to put people off turning pro, but I'm just trying to give people the insight of what it's like. Because if I was to do it all again, I'd definitely stay amateur and I'd try and develop and stay on one of the GB squads and try and go to the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games. You know, so
yeah. I think
you hit the nail on the head there, Paul, with the development.
Yeah, I think
what they get.
I think it's solid advice, Joe. You know, especially coming from you, who has kind of walked the walk and is living that life, so to speak. But I always find it super, super interesting that, you know, Anthony Joshua, the place where he was essentially developed, he stays around that particular area. He stays in the English Institute of Sport. He goes up there to train, and he surrounds himself with those people. Now, fair enough, up there you've got Don McCracken and Woodall. I've forgotten his first name.
Richie Woodall, yeah.
Richie Woodall,
Richie.
yeah, sorry, Richie Woodall, yeah. So you've got Richie Woodall and Don McCracken, who are the pro coaches. The rest of them are amateur coaches. But look at the place he surrounds himself in. If he's in the English Institute of Sport, you can't get past the front door. There's no entourage of, you know, these, you remember these vultures that we used to see hanging around Mike Tyson, you know, these influencers trying to get the best that they could get out of him, you know, and manipulate him on his journey. There's none of that up there. You can't, he can get up there and he can train and he's left alone. And that is a fascinating thing. And I think that is one of the best things, you know, he did, is to stay up there as opposed to going somewhere else and go to a pro gym and stuff like that.
I agree, Paul. You know, like it's funny because, you know, this is a guy who's heavyweight champion of the world, unified, or he's got most of the bouts anyway, and he stays around surrounded by amateurs. The same with Carl Froch. Froch was the same, and you know, they're two of the guys well, Froch was at the top of his game, and Joshua is still at the top of his game. So it just shows that them gyms have got success around it. So and good energy, and that's what you need, because like I say, going back to the professional, it's a hard game, and to be in the gym, you know, and sometimes I used to train early in the morning because, as you know, I train at Red Corner, you know, and it's like so you've got your general public that go in there. I used to just like training in the morning because, you know, all the other boxers be training in there, and it'd just be that mentality, because after a certain time you're training in there and you've got people like and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, someone's just people talking, or do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a different atmosphere. So you need
selfies,
that mindset. Yeah, exactly. You need that mindset. So I'm not surprised. I think Joshua trains in that kind of surroundings, you know.
I think it works both ways. I think there's a great relationship where the youngsters look at him and go, he's at the top of the pedestal and he inspires them, and he must take inspiration from the hunger that he sees in them, you know, when they're coming through.
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's kind of, I suppose it would be a good thing as well to have that buzz where your energy is feed. I'm a big believer in energy. So when you're feeding off the kids, you know, they look up to you, inspires you to keep on top of your game, and you know, it feeds onto the kids that want to go on to do what you're going to do. So again, it works in both scenarios, doesn't it? But it just depends what kind of person you are and what kind of environment you like training in.
So I suppose I really need to ask Joe, what spurred the move on to Marbella? I mean, it's not the worst place you could move to from Coventry, but why leave? Like, was this an opportunity, or was this a planned trip, or was it just spontaneous, or?
What's that? Sorry, Paul, I just lost you there.
No problem. Yeah. So what I was going to say was, what's spurred the move on to Marbella? Why end up, or why leave to Marbella? Was it a spontaneous thing? Was it a planned trip? Was it just an opportunity that came knocking at the door that you couldn't turn down?
No, good question.
Can you talk about it?
No, it's a good question, Paul. No, it's a funny one. You know, of course we could talk about it. No, it's a funny one, because what happened was, it was 2018, and I think it was a funny year. Just it's such a weird year for me on a personal note, because things in boxing weren't well. I had a fight in the March, and I was with Will Stokes, who was my manager. Wicked. He's still my friend today. Great guy. And we were on a journey. He was like, "Look, we're going to get you. We'll get you to the British eventually. We just got to do this." So I already had a lot of fights through him and Seamus Macklin. So I was on holiday in Thailand. So I had my fight in March. Went to Thailand, and I got a phone call from Will. And Will said to me, he said, "Joe, look, you know, we've had a great time together, and but MTK, things are changing within the business. You know, they've just been bought. Macklin's going into the punditry, and you know, I can't see the future. It's just going to be too many. What's that phrase? It's basically too many people in the business." And he just said he wouldn't be able to do his work freely without someone being on top of him. Do you know what I mean? So he was just like, look, I'm done with it now, you know. So, but wish you all the best. I was like, oh man, I knew from then. I thought this is just, I know where my career is going now because I'd already dealt with, you know, my previous manager, and I know what it's like when you're happy with a good manager and you've got people around you in boxing that that have got your best interest. You've got potential. But when Will left, I just knew things would be different. So anyway, long story short, MTK got taken over. I had another manager at the time, and they put a show on in Coventry. This was in July. We got promised, got promised an 8-rounder. I think, and on after that, I would have fought for some kind of title or something like WB. What was it? IBF Intercontinental or something like that in Coventry, right? So I trained really, really hard. The World Cup was on. All my mates were going out. Didn't go on holiday. My fight got cancelled, I think, 3 days before. So I bear in mind, I sold all these tickets. I trained my ass off, and I was like, oh, no, this is... Like, Glenn as well was training me throughout the summer. And I was like, oh, this is a joke. They still put the show on, and had to go around dropping everyone's money back. And I was fed up. So I said to Glenn, look, I know, mate. So I said to Glenn, look, Glenn, you know, because he would have got his money after his trainer's fee after I'd fought, but he didn't get anything. So I thought, you know what?
Is that how it works?
Barcelona. Yeah, that's how it works. You give your trainer, you know, let's say whatever you agree on, 10-20% of which is nothing really. But so I decided to take Glenn to Barcelona. Glenn and I went to Barcelona for like a little weekend. We had a lot of fun, you know. And then from there, my friends were in Marbella, and I just said to Glenn, I'm not going home. So what do you mean? He said, I'm going to go to Marbella. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'm just going to go see some of my friends. So I went over there, had a bit of a holiday, and then I met my girlfriend that I'm with now. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to stay for a little bit. It's still a summer. I just thought, I'm not going home. So I ended up staying. I ended up training in MTK Marbella. And then I met Tom Stalker and told him everything that was going on and stuff. And he's like, you know, well, why do you have a little session over here? I said, okay, then no problem. So I trained with Jorge Rubio, who was training Luke Campbell previous. And he was in Marbella with his couple of his boxers. There was a couple of Cuban guys, and a Mexican guy that he was training. So I had a session with him, and I just clicked with him. And I thought stay for a little bit longer, and I ended up going out to Miami, and I was supposed to have a fight in Miami that fell through last minute as well. So I was like, I don't have no look at all. But I really, really liked Marbella, and like I said, I was still with this girl. Stayed over Christmas, New Year, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to take my stuff over. I'm going to move out. I don't know what's going to happen with the boxing, but I'm going to stay in MTK Marbella and just see where it goes. So I was kind of coming back and forth and stuff, and then I ended up having a fight in Spain in the February time, and won that. And then I fought again in the March, not long after, which took me to my last fight, which was my 15th fight. And then ended up just like working in Marbella, meeting people, and then thought about setting up the champs camp, which was successful. And then that was it, mate. So it wasn't deliberate, but it was just like an accident kind of thing, but a good accident. And I think everything happens for a reason, you know, because had that fight not been cancelled, I probably wouldn't have been here, you know. So it's like a bit of frustration. Went out with my trainer, took him away on holiday, went and met my friends in Marbella, and just sort of stayed and haven't looked back.
Mate, that is an amazing story. I think Jeff Thompson coined the phrase, that's the happy accident. That is called a happy accident.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I think it was meant to be, mate. And like I said, I've been here 3 years now, nearly 3 years.
Wow, I was fascinated. Obviously, I was insanely jealous looking at your Instagram every time. You know, you were just in the sun and diving into these swimming pools and stuff, which was driving me nuts. But I thought it was great when you set up the champs camp, because that was a kind of look, you pay your fee, come and train with us. We're going to do strength and conditioning, CrossFit type training. We're going to do boxing, all your food's on, all your accommodations on, everything's here. What a great thing to get involved in for a couple of weeks.
Mate, it was unbelievable, Paul, because we had on the first one, Andrew Selby, I think we had Charlie Edwards, and we had, what's the name? The female boxer, sounds really bad now. Not Shannon Courtney, the Northampton girl. Oh my God, that's so bad. I've just got a name. She trains with Jamie Moore. She's really, really good. I'm just got a brain freeze. She's really good.
Yeah.
Begins with an S. Oh, it's going to annoy me now. But it'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah, it'll come to you when we finish recording.
We had typical. Oh, it's annoying. It's going to annoy me. But anyway, so we had your general public training with professional boxers, amateur boxers. We had two guys from Portugal, which are pro boxers. They were on the Champions Camp also. So let's say you pay £700, and you get that's like, I think it was like €850 with the exchange rate. You get your apartment, you get your food, your training, all for that price. You even get picked up from the airport, like all your food, everything. It was amazing. So, but the thing is, we managed to negotiate, a good price. So it was cheap for us. So, it was a decent profit margin. But you got to think, you can't even stay in Marbella for a week in a hotel for £700, unless it's a really cheap one. But, it's especially like summertime or even September time. So, we put on the product was good. The feedback was amazing. And we were on to win it. And then obviously COVID happened. So it's been very frustrating, mate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's just, when you say it like that, it makes perfect sense. You can't get into Marbella for that price. Yeah, you're getting these people, 90%, 95% guaranteed sun. So you get a good bit of vitamin D, good bit of community, nice little break, a different type of break than just going on the lash or, boozing it up. You're going to be doing something new. You're going to be working with pros. It was amazing. I used to watch it and I used to think, how can I kind of convince the missus that I can kind of get away for this?
That's the thing, mate. You think that's the thing we wanted to. It's almost like it's a no-brainer.
Well, what I should have done, I should have just booked the pair of us on it, but then we wouldn't have been able to get a babysitter for the week. It would have been an easier sell if I said, you're coming on this with me, but I just couldn't convince her, one, to let me go, and two, to both of us go. So unfortunately, I never made it on one of those camps, but they did look amazing. Hopefully, is that something you're going to set back up when all this is kind of blown over a little bit in Spain?
1,000,000%, Paul. 1,000,000%. The thing is, what I'm doing now is I'm in the process of setting up my own little gym or boxing studio, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it 12 Rounds Marbella. And it should be launching next, what are we on now, 12th of August. I'd say it's middle of September, maybe towards the end of September, providing I get the licenses and everything's all sorted by then. That's why I'm really putting it on social media, because I just want to just shock people and go, bang, there you are. This is what I've been working on. This is why I've been off the radar for, so many months. And I've just been working really, really hard, mate. It's been a funny. I could tell you a few stories, with lockdown, because I was doing a lot of PT sessions, right? Because word got round. I was doing PTs in the MTK Marbella. And when they shut the gym, a lot of people, I was training a couple of lads specifically, and they said, "Oh, look, I know we're not supposed to, but can we come round your house and do PTs, right?" So I was, it sounds a bit bad. It sounds a bit bad, really, but
as long as you were cautious, as long as you were cautious,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I think.
It was initially. At
the end of the day.
Sorry, initially in the start, Joe, it was advice. We advise you to do this, and then it just made people more cautious.
Exactly. So I think looking back at it now and knowing how everything's panned out, I was well within my rights to kind of, again, to do the PTs, because there was no government support really for us, and it was like I was getting. Let's say these two people, and they tell all their friends, and before you know it, I was doing like, let's say 20 to 25 hours a week, you know, so it was and people charge €50 over it, so it was good money, mate. I know it was good money, mate. So it was like, and because I couldn't spend it either, so I was just literally, you know, and it was making the days go quicker also, because I was literally going out of my mind thinking, oh my God, like, you've got to stay in the house and do nothing. Well, not do nothing, but, you know, like I was getting up training myself, or training other people, training again. And before you know it, it's like evening time, watch TV and blah, blah, blah. But it kind of put me in the position now, because I managed to save loads of money and put it in this venture. And I know it'll pay off. And I think once I'm up and running, you know, I'll have my local base here, which I've got a good client base here, but then I'll be able to put the champs camp in, I'll be able to put a few champs camps on throughout the year, which is my intention, you know, because MTK Marbella is shut now. Likewise with Train Marbella, so I'll be able to literally keep everything in house and host it on my own, you know. So it's been good, mate.
Brilliant. It sounds great, and I think we've just got a bit of an exclusive here that you're doing this. So hopefully this will generate a bit of interest, you know, on the podcast, and I'll make sure that it gets out there when you launch it as well, and get as much interest. And I think it's great, mate, because look, let's be honest, you're in a place where people want to go, you know what I mean? People want to go to Marbella and they want to visit and they want to get away. And I think a lot of people are looking for the alternative holiday where they can go and do a bit of training and not feel a bit guilty about having a beer at night and chilling out, you know, after doing a hard day's graft in the day, and, you know, feeling good about themselves.
Oh, for sure, Paul, because the thing is, how I got the inspiration to do it was when I used to go to Thailand quite a bit. I was sponsored by a gym called Unit 27, which is a great strength conditioning facility. But on that site, you'd have all your food, you have your masseuse. You would need to leave it, really. But like, I would never be able to go on holiday after a fight and go and drink and party and do whatever, because it was almost like you had to almost stay ready, especially being in the position I was. I wasn't promoted by any big promoter, so I always had the mentality to stay ready. So I'd go to these places, I'd train, I'd meet new people, and we'd have some fun. You know, maybe go out once or twice, but it wasn't really like party. You was just strictly just train. So I thought, if I can get something like that here to take people from the UK or wherever on a, you know, to literally eliminate any excuse not to come. Like let's say you pay for your flight, you land, you get picked up from the airport, you stay in your accommodation, you're fed, your training's like top level training, you're surrounded by other boxers. Like, it's a no-brainer. So that's what we wanted to give people. And, you know, apart from, I mean, you could go and party in Marbella, there's so much to do. But the thing is, Paul, what people don't realize is there's so much to do away from the partying. You know, you can go karting, you can do mountain walks, you can, you know, just normal stuff, you know. And there's so much of it to do here that, again, once I relaunch it, I'm going to make like this package. It was good anyway, but it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be like a proper training holiday, you know, with other things to do outside of the training.
I think it's going to be amazing. I think you've got a potential market there, not just for boxing holidays, but for also, look, you know, mindfulness camps. Are you stressed? Do you want to come and just leave all that behind and then come out here? Maybe even, you know, weight management camps as well, where, you know, you get people and you say, right, in a few weeks, you know, we're going to hammer this. We're going to work on this. We're going to create change. So when you do go back to the UK, at least you know you've done or achieved this type of thing. I think a group activity, these group camps, boot camps, boxing camps, whatever, if you take them away from the home setting and people are initially out of their comfort zone, it gets really good results. It really, really does. Are you just going to be offering boxing, or are you going to be doing other kind of martial arts or anything else?
Funny that, Paul. you're on to it, mate. You're on to it. No, you know, Paul, I've met a good few people out here, and it's funny because during the lockdown, I haven't really. I've been doing obviously my boxing and stuff, but I've been trying different martial arts out just purely for the fact that I like learning something different. And I've done bits of grappling before
with Matty.
I met a good guy with Matty. Yeah, Matty Evans, fantastic guy, really good. I love Matty, and so I met a guy through MTK called Vinny, who's a Brazilian guy. Funny story, but he got his reputation for fighting people in the favelas. Like he was like, you know, champion of the favelas. So he's a proper tough dude. So I was doing a bit with him. And I met a guy who's helping me out with wrestling, who's on the Ultimate Fighter series, Jake, he's Canelli, a very, very good wrestler and really into mixed martial arts. I met him, really good K1 teacher called Manolo, who's a good friend of mine. So I've met all these guys. I'm thinking, well, if I could do a boxing camp, why can't I do a mixed martial arts camp? Why can't I do a Brazilian jiu-jitsu camp? So people can learn all of these different martial arts, have immerse themselves for 1 week, learn the basic stuff to be able to take it back to the UK and develop it further. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many different avenues that I've been thinking about with the Champs Camp that, you know, Champs Camp is a great name because champion could be anything. Champion boxer, champion, you know, MMA fighter, champion, you know, jiu-jitsu, champion. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different, you can go anywhere with it. But I think Champs Camp in the kind of fighting with in the sort of like martial arts would be is perfect. That's
no, I think you're onto a winner there. I think champion, you know, it essentially translates the winner, doesn't it? So there's even the corporate aspect of things there. Do you know what I mean? You could have hit the corporate market and just be like, look, I want to get your execs out here. You know, there's massive potential for that. So that's great that you're opening it up to all martial arts. I think the gis in the background. I got my jiu-jitsu gi, so I'll be there, mate. I can see
it.
I got the boxing gloves over there in the corner, so you know, I'll be able to rustle. If I start now, I might be able to convince the wife for next year that, oh yeah, you go to the clubs. I'll just be over at this club.
Mate, that's how you got to use your brain there, mate, and do give us some kind of character.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I tell you what, it'd be interesting, Joe, if you have a look at one of my other episodes. A guy that I'd interviewed previously, he's the strength conditioning coach for Conor McGregor, and he's got a gym. His name's Colin Byrne, and he's got a gym. He's from Dublin, but he lives in Lagos in Portugal.
Okay. It's not too far from me.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a bit of but not too far. But he's got a gym out there, and he did the very similar thing. He went out to Portugal and just set up camp with that kind of ethos. If I build it, they will come. And then he started doing camps. And then what he does, he has every year, he has, well, obviously because of COVID has slowed things down, but he has reoccurring gyms that allocate a time where they're going to come over and do a camp. And it's almost like gyms will say, right, we're doing the Marbella week and we'll get booked in with you, you know, to go at this particular date. So you've got reoccurring guests coming.
Yeah.
But definitely check him out. I'll send you the link and listen, and I'll put you in touch with him.
Yeah, send me the link.
Mate, I'll put you in touch with him. He's a great guy to link up with. He will definitely give you some absolutely solid advice. And I think it was 2 camps ago when McGregor was fighting Cerrone he was doing his training camp out there.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, it would have been. So. What was that? Was that the end of last year or the start of 2020? That was, wasn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know you're not supposed to really kind of talk about sparring stories, but you have been asked to spar in some pretty kind of like top level camps. You know, Tyson Fury to name but a few, and I always remember asking you ages ago and. You and Chris, remember Chris who you used to train with from Warsaw, and he was training at Red Corner. And Chris Keane, yeah. And I remember saying to you guys, because you got invited in, I think this was before Tyson was a British champ, and you went in and you did a camp with him. And I was like, oh, like, you know, what was it like? And you just said, for a big guy, he's just so fast. And he was just playing with us, and he was using you, I think, for the speed rather than the actual power.
Yeah, he Tyson, I think it was 215. He was a British champ by then, Paul. I think it was the same year that he fought Klitschko, because he fought Klitschko in November, if you remember.
Really?
215. Yeah.
Oh God, I've got that badly wrong.
So it was that year. No worries. But he was so awkward. When I watched Tyson before, I wasn't really a massive fan of him because I just thought he's tall, dangly, and like I was more a fan of Joshua because he was just exciting to watch. He was, you know what I mean? He was like, he wasn't necessarily a better boxer, but you know what you were getting with Joshua. Whereas Tyson was just, you know, he's just in weird fights. He didn't always look great. Do you know what I mean? He did the job, but he never really looked great. But when I sparred him, you know what I mean? It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when I sparred him, he was just so skillful and very he was brilliant, mate. I was mesmerized. I was thinking like his distance, he'd throw his jab, and you'd think because he was quite tall. Well, he's very tall. He'd flick the jab out from about 6 feet away, and you're thinking, that ain't me, and then bang, you're like, wow. You know what I mean?
He's hitting you in the opposite corner.
I watched him spar with the guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like hitting you from the opposite corner post. You're like, what? How did he do that? But he was brilliant, mate. And I watched him spar a couple of other heavyweights. He was fantastic. He was someone that I thought after, wow, he's better than what he looks sometimes on TV. You know, he's and very professional.
Very professional. I for some reason I thought they brought you in for the David Haye, the initial David Haye potential bat that fell through. I thought you went in for that camp for some reason.
Mate, I wish God if I was getting the money that they were paying the sparring partners, then mate, and I would have stayed for the whole camp. They pay their sparring partners some good money, I tell you.
Yeah. I suppose I got to ask you, Joe, whilst we're on that situation, in your opinion, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but let's say, you know, Joshua and Fury did fight. Who would you put your money on?
You'd have to be honest, Paul, you'd have to go with Tyson. Now, people think it's a foregone conclusion. I don't. I think the fight that people think they're going off is the Wilder fight. Now, you cannot walk through Joshua the same way that you can walk through Wilder, and the reason being the weight difference. Like Wilder's 15 stone, you know, and I think 15 and a half stone when he fights. So you got to think Tyson was probably 18, let's say 18, 19 stone. That's like 4 stone difference. So when you got someone just walking forward, quite slippery as Tyson does, but, you know, just trying to maul him. I think if he was to try and do that against Joshua, who's a better boxer than Wilder, let's be honest, you know, gets behind his jab, maybe doesn't move as good, but I think it'd be, for me, it's 60-40 in Fury's way, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets chinned by Joshua. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think Joshua fights better on the back foot, and he's definitely, like you said, in regards to the strength, he's a lot stronger. Nobody ever really pushed Wilder back because he was just banging everybody and knocking everyone out. So Tyson Fury was the first one to kind of just keep going, wasn't he?
He just took his distance off him. You know, Wilder's powerful when people are on the end of his punches, but Fury did exactly what he just kind of like. The punches were kind of scuffing him, weren't they? He took the distance off him and just manhandled him. And that's how you got that. You laid the blueprint out, really, you know?
I remember, you know, all those times. I mean, we've known each other years now. If I think back to it, you know, especially like sparring at Red Corner on Fridays, going back to about, I think, 2007. And I always remember you hopping off to kind of like Thailand, and, you know, doing your Muay Thai striking camps, and obviously watching you and Troy doing a little bit of grappling with Matty Evans up at Red Corner every now and again. Now that I've seen a recent picture, well, not so long ago, and I got onto you and I saw you in the jiu-jitsu gear, and I was thinking, is Joe maybe garnering a move over to MMA at some particular point?
Paul, it's crossed my mind a few times, you know. I think it's a funny, I'll tell you this story, Paul, why I was thinking it, because since I've been over here, I haven't had the buzz for boxing. It's just been, it's a hard road, which you spoke about earlier. And like, okay, we've got people like Jake Paul coming in and fighting. We had Logan Paul fighting Mayweather, and they're getting paid stupid though, right? And it's kind of killing the sport. And it's almost like you have to treat it like a business, but you got to promote yourself, do all this stuff. And unless you're that kind of character, you know, like calling people out and being an idiot, in my opinion, you don't really get that. You don't really get the opportunities and stuff. So I've kind of see boxing in a different light now, and you know, other factors as well, like the fact that I'm not Glenn isn't over here. You know, I haven't really found a trainer that I really click with. So when I train, I feel like I'm stagnating. So I try not to train boxing no more, because it's just, I'm bored in my head. So like I've been doing, when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm learning something new. So I'm switched on. It's kind of like, I'm not saying turned on by it, but I get a buzz from it.
Yeah,
The same like I did with boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, and I'm a massive fan of the UFC as well. So I've been doing, you know, my K1 striking with Manolo, who's a good friend of mine who mentioned earlier, and I've been doing the grappling or jiu-jitsu with Vinny. So I'm thinking, if I can combine these two together, as well as my hands and a bit of wrestling, you know what I mean? I'm 34. I'm still young in MMA terms. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm starting off, but I think starting from off slate wouldn't be a bad thing. And seriously though, Paul, it's crossed my mind a few times, you know.
Do you know,
So
I
we'll
think,
see.
Joe, I think there's an amazing opportunity here, because he who shouts the loudest gets heard the first. And I think what you need to do, mate, after you've launched your gym, is turn up at a top quality fight with like a big, you know, one of those big megaphones like Proctor had out of Police Academy.
Maggie, yeah.
And just start bad mouthing them all. Just say, I'm a boxer. I'm going to just destroy you all. Then there's a massive market to say BOXER takes on the whole of the MMA community, not knowing that you've been training jiu-jitsu and striking in the background. Somebody's bound to bite
with my hands up and just leg kick people.
Yeah. Mate, somebody's bound to bite at that and just be like, who's this boxer think he is, you know? And then you're tucking away the jiu-jitsu gi in the background, you know what I mean? So I think there's a good marketing opportunity there, mate. And what's your opinion of the level of kind of like striking and boxing that MMA fighters use? Now, I know it's a different sport, and I'm not going to open that can of worms, but what do you think of it as opposed to boxing? And how do you think somebody like yourself, a skilled boxer, would transition to that aspect of fighting?
Right. The level's got a lot better in MMA, especially UFC. You know, the hands have got a lot better, and there's some good boxers in the UFC. You know, like Max Holloway. I think Dustin Poirier is a great. His boxing's unbelievable. So you know, the hands are good, but it's sort of like not domestic level, but I've been watching a few fights in Spain, and the hands are all right. They could do pretty much a bit of everything, and that's what I'd be able to do. I'd be able to do a little bit of everything. You know, I think I'd be going in there trying to leg kick the legs off people and you know, and just having an all-round striking game, a good defensive wrestling platform, and you know, be able to do a few basic submissions, you know, and be able to understand the ground game in terms of like not being on the bottom for too long, how to get out a lot positions and submissions, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I'd be going in there with an open mind to know that I need that kind of base to compete all right, you know. Good striking, decent striking, well, very, very good hands, decent enough sort of kicking ability, great takedown defense, and decent enough wrestling, you know. That's pretty much it.
Southpaw as well. You'd give people a lot of nightmares, mate, being a southpaw.
Horrible. Inside leg kick. I've been studying it, Paul. I've been studying it, mate.
I'm going to be there. You remember Jimmy Hart, who used to follow the Hulk around? Remember Hulk Hogan? And Jimmy Hart used to follow him around. I'll be your Jimmy Hart, mate. I'll follow around. I'll jump around with the megaphone going, this boxer's going to destroy you all.
Trust me, mate. I'm down for that for sure.
Brilliant. Right, Joe, I'm conscious of the time. We're going to wrap it up in a few minutes. So
no problem.
Next month, you've got your gym, your boxing studio, or your new project kind of going live. So you will be back on social media for that, so I can share it and help you get it promoted. And
Yeah, of course, Paul. So it's going to be called 12 Rounds in Marbella, and we're looking to open the second week of September. I'll sort of be a bit more active on social media. Start September, I started drip feeding content on my new page, 12 Rounds. So I'll send you the link for that, Paul. I just want to apologise to all your people listening also, because there's a bit of a delay and the signal's not very good. So I do apologise for that. But
don't worry, mate. It was like it's like the Eurovision. Great, it's like the Eurovision back in the 80s.
Yeah. No, mate, it's been wicked, Paul. And I appreciate you having me on as well, mate.
Nah, mate, no, Joe, it's been really good. It's been a long time coming. So what I like to do is close out. Like, if you could give any advice, right, to let's say a young boxer, or let's say, Joe, for example, you could go back in time and speak to yourself at the age of kind of 18, 19, before you got while you had your injury in the Marines, or let's say before you started boxing. General advice, now not necessarily about boxing, what advice would you give to you at that particular age? It's a deep one, isn't it?
Wow, but no, it's a deep one. But no, I could, if I was to have my time again, I spoke to my 18-year-old self or my future son, I'd say, listen, it's simple. Work hard, extremely, extremely hard. Anything that you want to put your mind to, work extremely hard. You're going to face obstacles along the way, loads of them, but just stick the course. Believe in yourself, always believe in yourself. Do a lot of work on yourself. Read books. Model off them. Surround yourself with good people. Model yourself on people who you look up to, and also stay away from the bad things, the negative people, or the people that doubt you, or people that genuinely don't want you, haven't got your best interests at heart. It's a lot of things, but just to put it in a nutshell, hard work, amazing amount of discipline, hard work, and surround yourself with amazing people. They're the three things that I'd say to people. So, or any person coming through.
Now, what would you say to a young boxer, a young amateur boxer who has high aspirations, and then let's say they met you in Coventry walking down the street and they went, "My God, you're Joe Sherriff. First of all, can I have your autograph? Secondly, what advice can you give me?"
Right, stay amateur. If you're looking to go on a GB team, stay amateur. Don't go out, don't drink, don't take drugs, or don't do any of the bad stuff. Just stick the course, because something good's going to come from it. I would, Paul, seriously, because there's so many people I know from Coventry that have gone far by the wayside, even over here in Marbella, that far by the wayside because they've been, they've felt submissive to drink, drugs, and women. So if you're a boxer coming through, you stick the course. Listen to your coach. Don't think you know it all. Train as hard as you can. Listen, you can get beat by someone that's better than you. You can live with that. You can go back to the drawing board. But do not get beat because you're not fit, or you weren't disciplined, or didn't put the work in. And if you do turn pro, always have a good manager and good people around you.
I think it seems pretty obvious that your connection with Glenn is very, very strong. And you guys need to get back together. If you're going to get back into a good boxing camp, I think you need Glenn around you.
Oh no, I wouldn't. That's why I've stopped, Paul. That's why I couldn't box again without Glenn, because we've had too much of a good thing. People talk about trainers, Freddie Roach training. Glenn's like my Freddie Roach. If you've got a good trainer that you've got rapport with and knows you as a person, sky's the limit. And it's just a shame we haven't had the opportunities. If we do in the future. Still very young, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, who knows, mate. Listen, Joe, so the amazing Joe Sherriff, thank you very much, mate. It's been great chatting to you. I feel I'm full of energy. I know I'm going to have to go to bed soon, but I'm absolutely buzzing. We've had a great chat. We've covered loads of topics. Hopefully someone will get something out of this, and I'm waiting patiently, for the release of this information and your social media about the new gym and the new project. And fingers crossed next year, if all goes well, I should be out there for a little trip, mate. I've got a few things on the bucket list. Because of COVID's made the bucket list go back. So, I'll be there next year. Okay, mate.
I want to see you over there, mate. That's a promise. I'll hold you to that.
No worries, no worries. Joe, thank you very much, mate. You take care, and we'll speak soon.
You too, Paul. God bless, mate. All the best, mate. Ta-da. Take care, mate. Bye-bye.